When we're talking about basic geometry, we have some terms that we need to become familiar with. In your textbook, there are a couple of pages with a chart with pictures, descriptions, and it also gives how to name and how to read each one of these different terms. The most basic unit of measure that we're going to be discussing is a point. A point is an exact location in space. A point is named simply by the letter of the point. If we take this, let's say we take this diagram. We can name any one of those points. A point is drawn as a dot, but it is named by its point. So if I want to pick this point here, E, I can just call it E, or I can call it point E when I go to name it. Points come together to form and create other basic geometric figures. One of those is a line. A line is an endless collection of points. Since it's endless, that means it goes on forever. Obviously, we cannot draw something that goes on forever, so the arrows on each end indicate that we have a line, that it's going on forever in both directions. So this is what a line would look like. When we name a line, we take this diagram and I pick a line. This line here has an arrow on each end. I would name it by any 2 points on the line. It doesn't have to be the first and the last point. It can be any 2 points on the line in any order. And then I would put the line symbol above it, noticing there's an arrow on each end showing me that it is a line that goes on forever in both directions. But this one line could be named line BC like I have. It can also be named line CB, just flipping those 2 points. It could be named line CD or line DC, that would be the same name, or line BD or line DB. Any 2 points along the line in any order, name a line. When we have part of a line, we have a line segment. Segment means part or piece, and a line segment starts and stops. It doesn't continue on in both directions. So when we look at this diagram, you'll notice all of the parts of lines we have here have arrows on the end, meaning they go on forever. But if we take just one piece of that line, for example, if I just take from here to there, I have line segment BC. If I take just from here to there, I have line segment CE or line segment EC. Again, the order can be switched. If I take just this part, that would be line segment CD or line segment DC. Or I could take from point B all the way to point D and name that as line segment BD or line segment DB. So I can take any part of any line and go from one point to another and stop, and I have a line segment. Notice in its name, line segment BD, there are no arrows showing that it does not go on forever in any direction. Let me get rid of this highlight. Sorry about that. If I take another part of a line, I would have something called a ray. A ray has one endpoint and then goes on forever in the opposite direction. So it would start somewhere and then go off forever in the opposite direction. In this diagram, I have a number of different rays that I can name. If you remember that I said a ray starts at one point, like it could start at B, and then go on forever through D. That could be named line segment BD. It could also be named line segment BC. They both start at point B, and they both go off forever in the opposite direction. I could, though, start my ray at point D and go this way. That's a different ray. It would start at point D and go forever through B. So So that could be named ray DB or ray DC. Either one tells me it starts at D, because that's the first point, and then it goes forever in the opposite direction. So order is very important when naming a ray, unlike when naming a line or a line segment. I could start my ray at point C, and I could go from C through D, and I could have ray CD. I could start at C and go through B and have ray CB. Or I could start at C and go through E and have ray CE. So as you can see, there are a large number of choices that we can give for naming rays in this diagram. Again, keep in mind when naming a ray, order is very important. I just picked ray CD to name. That would start at point C and go through forever through point D. Another basic unit of measure is a plane. A plane is an endless flat surface. Again, since we cannot draw an endless flat surface, many times they're drawn with arrows showing that it would continue on in every direction. But in this diagram that I drew here, they don't have arrows. It's just understood that that is the flat surface, or the plane, that holds all of these points, lines, rays, line segments. A plane is named by any 3 points in the plane as long as they do not sit on the same line. For example, in this plane here, I can pick any 3 points to name it. Like I could name this plane ABC. The only 3 points that I cannot use in combination would be B, C, and D, since they fall in the same line. I could call this, notice I called it plane ABC. 2 of the points are on the same line, but as long as the third one is not, it is okay to name it. But again, the only name we cannot give this plane would be plane BCD, or any combination of just those 3 points, because they all fall on the same line.